Okay, and welcome back to the X-Men MAME review video here. This will be my second part of the playthrough, and I figured I'd do this since playing this whole game didn't take all that long. And of course, here's the boss of level 3. For those of you just joining us, this is in level 3 shortly after Magneto gives his crazy "welcome to die" thing, which, you know, everybody ridicules so much. And this is Wendigo. And if you listen to him, he obviously wants you to know that's who he is, because he keeps saying his name again. He's like a Pokemon. It's like if Wolverine walked around going, "Wolverine, Wolverine, that's me." I know a lot of comic book fans are gonna be like, "Ooh, you compared Wendigo to a Pokemon," but really, all he does is scream his name over and over again. But just like with your Ninja Turtles arcade game, as I had mentioned earlier, this game features the same thing where when the boss is about to die, he'll start to blink, and then eventually he'll just keel over like he just did right there.
Go and rescue Kitty from the cave.
And as you see with any of these videos, I try to be quiet whenever there's dialogue, because if you never played this before, you could get the quote-unquote arcade experience. And I don't know what these things in the ground are supposed to be. I don't know if they're supposed to be like sand monkeys or something. If they're from the comic book, you can tell me, but all the other characters look nice and sharp, but for some reason those like sand monkeys just kind of look pixelated no matter what resolution I have this game running at. And of course these guys are just palette swaps of the alligators earlier, but this time now they breathe fire. And if you didn't notice, each time you have a different color, like in just about every beat-em-up game. They're basically just stronger, or maybe they have a new attack, or they punch differently. I don't know if it was seen in the earlier game, but you could see how the red guy shoots. He shoots forward as opposed to the green guy who kind of shoots on an arc. And of course the Sentinels explode just like the foot soldiers did in Ninja Turtles because they're robots. Although in the Ninja Turtles movie, the foot soldiers actually were people. And these are kind of like your golden red, kind of even almost Iron Man Sentinels in this level. And I just find it kind of weird. She just kind of like whips them with a whip. I don't know what that thing is supposed to be. If you're a big fan of the comic book, you probably could let me know. Because I always thought to myself, like, Storm has this power where she could, like, more or less summon storms. Why should she have to whip people? And I always hate in beat-em-up games when you get, like, a enemy on a vehicle unexpectedly and they just kind of knock you over. It's never expected, although at least that time I didn't get hit, although his friend that came over hit me. And there's more of those green guys who shoot their bullets on an arc. And the cool part is you can select your person every time when you do continue here, or if you were to put a lot of coins in, it would just give you a lot of lives. So let's say you like Wolverine, you can select Wolverine and put like 50 billion coins in, you'll have tons of lives, so you'd be cool. But of course, if you only like one character, as I'd mentioned in the previous video, you probably should play the 6-player version, since on the 6-player version you're locked to one character, since each joystick controls a different character. I don't know if I'd mentioned the other video, but the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions of this game were actually ported by a company called Backbone Entertainment, who did a lot of the ports of the XBLA type games. I believe they also may have did the Ultimate MK3 on the XBLA, because that was the first one I actually had picked up on Xbox Live Arcade. And I don't know, when I was playing this this actual gameplay you see here, when I saw all the palette swaps, it reminded me a lot of that Sailor Moon game on the arcade, but just because, just like a lot of the beat-em-up games, it had the palette swaps. But as you saw, you actually could see it in frame this time. It seemed like every other time I beat them up, they kind of like flew out of frame, but the actual red soldier guy got beat up in the frame and he kind of fell, and you could see that he had a regular face. Now this part, I definitely have to admit, is really annoying because these bats fly all over the place, and since they fly in and out of planes a lot quicker than I can move up and down or even jump up and down out of them. It's kind of harder to hit them, and you kind of have to be exactly on the same level as them to actually do damage. And what you really should be trying here for is to kill the big bat so it can't spawn any more babies. But I didn't quite pick up on that until it was too late. And now here's some Colossus action for you. And I figured with Colossus he'd be able to do his mutant power, which would kill everybody. And now here's some more of your red and purple Sentinel guys, like in the first level, because I'm guessing they just didn't have the throwing rock ones to have the the new ones. And if you didn't notice there, if I was playing the 6-player, it probably would have showed them all flying down in the whole screen instead of showing just a couple of them in the the other ones just kind of walk in and you just kind of saw the rocks come. Now when I first saw this guy, it kind of reminded me of Zack in his like Teletubby-like costume. Or maybe the way he pumps his arms like that, it kind of reminds me of Crank from the Ninja Turtles arcade game. I almost expect to hear the music that plays when you fight against him. And you always notice in any of these games, when someone's like captured, there'll always be this like laser field around them. Although the laser field kind of stopped when the character selection went on, which was kind of strange. And of course, Cyclops here continues the tradition of superheroes having their underwear on the outside. Now we rescue her.
You must rescue the professor.
And of course, if you had a 4-player game, a 6-player game, you would have had all the X-Men there, so that'd more or less explain the cutscene of why they're all there, and it wouldn't be like with my game here where I'm only playing a Cyclops and everyone just happens to be there. And just as I mentioned earlier, you'll see these Sentinel guys tend to be taking more hits than they did before. So these are the green and silver ones. And I always like the over-the-top explosions in a lot of these beat-em-up games. And that was honestly completely unexpected that all these fire things would just pop up and basically kill me. I figured I'd just get behind it and kill it. And I can honestly tell you, you saw how I fell right there? I don't know if the game glitched or if I just stepped in the wrong spot, but I totally did not expect that to happen. And whenever I see Nightcrawler's name, it looks like it's so big, and whenever it displays it in a game like this, and it always just makes it look like it's just this humongous word being displayed in a word cloud. And here's more of those monkey things I was mentioning earlier that just, to me, they just tend to look pixelated quite a bit. Oh, and an interesting fact I actually... And she emphasized, what's his name's, Magneto's thing, that Magneto welcomes you to die. But, and one interesting thing, in Nightcrawler's ranking screen, his name is actually misspelled as Night C-R-O-W-L-E-R instead of Crawler. It's like Crawler with an O. It's kind of a funny little thing that I found in the Mame history.dat. And when I first played this, I was thinking to myself, wait, she's dead and it's not over? What's going on? What's interesting is there is, in the Japanese version of this game, there actually are health power-ups which weren't in the American version, which is kind of like a reversal of the usual, because usually like the Japanese version of the game is a little bit harder, and then the American version is easier, because the Japanese makers of the game always think, oh, those Americans, they're not going to be able to play a game too well. Well, except in the case of some working designs games, like Lunar 2 for the Sega CD was actually a little bit harder in the American version because they added the Magic Experience system, adding that to be your saves. But when I first saw this Sentinel come up, I was thinking of Krang from the Ninja Turtles arcade game, how his head came up and then it would start shooting lasers. And plus, honestly, these crazy dudes in the motorized things reminded me of Guile, and I was like, oh, these are like crazy motorized Guile guys. I was expecting to shoot me with lasers right then, because his eyes were kind of blinking. I'm sure everybody's happy that I'm giving them some more storm action here. Okay, now if you didn't know, this is where your X-Men characters first showed up in the comic books. Of course, Magneto showed up in the first X-Men #1. You saw Mystique in Miss Marvel #16. Juggernaut here was seen in X-Men #12. Then the White Queen, who's also known as Emma Grace Frost, was seen in the Uncanny X-Men #129. The level 4 boss, Master Mold, was seen in X-Men 15. Wendigo was seen in Incredible Hulk #162. The Blob, also known as Fred J. Dukes, was seen in X-Men #3. Pyro was seen in the Uncanny X-Men #141, also known as St. John Allardyce.
X-Men, nice job. Magneto is over there. Follow me.
Here, of course, is another little cutscene.
You fell into our trap.
I always love it when games do stuff like that, because when I first saw that, I was thinking, oh my god, the professor is standing up. That's so crazy. Okay, where was I now? The Sentinels were shown in X-Men #14. The character Bone Breaker was shown in the Uncanny X-Men 229. Then Shadow Cat was shown in 129. Professor X, of course, was shown in the original X-Men #1. You didn't see Dazzler until X-Men #130. You didn't see Nightcrawler until Giant Size X-Men #1. Of course, his name is Kurt Wagner. Storm was seen in Giant Sized X-Men #1 as well. Wolverine was shown in Incredible Hulk #180. And then you had Colossus in Giant Size X-Men #1. Cyclops was in X-Men #1. And what it was saying here is the X-Men is based upon the comic book series of the same name, you know, X-Men. Most of the game's plot is loosely based on the 1989 X-Men cartoon called Pride of the X-Men. And as I just mentioned, those were all your X-Men debuts. I honestly don't know what Giant Size X-Men comic was, but a lot of you comic book fans probably would know what that was. And I just find this cool that here's your like crazy silver Sentinels. I just found it cool that right there I had to like defeat a guy that looked just like Pyro. And all these crazy machine gun Guile guys, as I called them, are trying to beat me up. To me, when I play this game, it's like Magneto is spending more and more money on the Sentinels that he sends after the X-Men. Like these are the silver ones. They were quite expensive. Let's do some more Colossus skipping action. Come on, Colossus, skip those enemies to death. You big, strong skipping man. Colossus is the biggest, craziest skipping man you'll ever see. Although then again, if I was a big metal man, I would do crazy skipping action as well. And now this is a pretty crazy boss where you actually have to defeat these 3 Egyptian statue guys. And just in case you're wondering, it's pretty obvious, but this is a game in the horizontal orientation. 228 by 224 pixels. Of course, 60 hertz refresh rate on the arcade monitor. And of course, when you're talking about the 6-player version, it would just be the same resolution x2, because all it really was is it didn't render the thing on one big screen, it was just 2 screens. And depending on what arcade machines you're actually playing this on, sometimes the screens were like right next to each other, so there was hardly any split. But a lot of times with a lot of the machines, there was like at least like a centimeter between the two. Sometimes a little less depending on the arcade machine and how it was actually set up. And I could just remember when I was young and I was like in an arcade and I saw like the 6-player X-Men arcade machine. I was thinking to myself, oh my god, that's a humongous arcade machine. And I just had to look at it and I'm like, oh wow, 6 people can play. Forget Ninja Turtles. This one's like 6, not 4. And I know
X-Men. Magneto is planning to attack Earth from his asteroid base. You must foil his plan before it's too late. Go after the giant sentinel.
And I know I not mentioned it earlier, but that thing where it says after you defeat the level where it says the extra mutant power, you'll notice the little orbs by my life. Even after my life is drained, the mutant power can be used for those like next 2 times. And this is just exactly what I was mentioning a couple minutes ago. It just looks like Magneto is spending more and more on these Sentinels. Now they're the solid gold Sentinels. As if somehow they're gonna like be more powerful because he made them out of gold, but maybe it's just at this point Magneto's like, oh, I have so much money, I don't really care. I'll just like make them out of gold. And these things were always annoying. You just had to find a way to take them out without taking too much damage yourself. Because if you got too close, they blew the laser beam at you. The only really way to take them out without getting hit by the laser beam is just kind of doing the upward kick I'm trying to do, but you have to really time it exactly right. And just like our Guile guys earlier, these are just like a palette swap of them. And that's another thing that's a little bit annoying. When you throw like your tornado or something at somebody and they're off screen, it doesn't hit them. So as long as they're on the screen, they're fine. And right there, if you notice, I actually had just added a coin, so I had have to choose a new character. And you can do that at any time. If you just add coins, it'll add lives. Similar to the vein of like Gauntlet or Gauntlet Legends. And now here's the area where we're going to actually defeat all the bosses in a level. And here's everyone's favorite Pokemon, Ice Guy, Wendigo. Since that's all he can say, I'd be one of those people, I'd walk up to Wendigo, I'd be like, really? Is that all you can say? And he'd probably just go, Wendigo.
Wolverine.
At least the Blob doesn't go, Blob, Blob. And that's the first time during this playthrough, it'd been so long that I noticed I could actually hit Blob when he was down. And now in the arcade, it would have been like crazy hard. You're like worrying about your quarters and you're facing all these bosses all at once and you just don't want to lose all that money you're actually putting into this game. So I could understand the pain of that. And there goes the White Queen. And I definitely have to say, for a 1992, more or less children's arcade game, she's actually quite a risque looking character if you ask me. But then again, I guess she's modeled after the actual comic book character. So in a way, it's okay. And this guy also kind of reminds me a little bit of Buzz Lightyear, but not much. And I don't know if he actually did it in the comic book or not, but I just find it kind of weird Juggernaut using like this bazooka weapon, because whenever I saw him in like any of the games or any of the cartoons or anything, Juggernaut would always just charge at people and try to like punch them or hit him with his head. And he would always go, "I'm the Juggernaut," and just always yell at people, and it was funny. And not even Cyclops can take out the Juggernaut. He's some serious shit right there, man.
I am Magneto. You are nothing.
That actually reminds me a little bit of El Blaze from Virtua Fighter 5, where it's like, "I've got the advantage, you got nothing." Huh. And it's and then you just start like beating him up. When I'd actually first seen the portrait of Dazzler when I played this game so long ago, I thought it was like Jean Grey or somebody, like her old style or something. But then I was like, wait, who's Dazzler? And I had to look it up and find out what this Dazzler character was. It just, in my opinion, when it comes to the X-Men, I find in this game, I think she's one of the most obscure ones shown here. And you see the professor there in our laser beam field that every prisoner's ever kept in any game that they have to be held, except that they're like tied. But usually you have your character.
Alas, that was Mystique, not Magneto. Magneto is in another place. Go, X-Men.
Honestly, Professor X, had you not pointed that out, we wouldn't have guessed.
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
I always thought it'd be funny if Magneto was like, "I am Magneto. No, really this time. Last time was just a joke." And that's one thing I think is awesome about Magneto in this fight. He's kind of like, "Kill you. I'm gonna kill you. I killed you. Ha 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 ha." I think all ending bosses from video games should do that. Like, when they kill you, they should just, like, laugh about it. It's like, I just killed you. You see? I don't care. It's funny.
X-Chicken.
He even gonna, like, insult you by calling you an X-Chicken. Oh, and I didn't notice this when I was going down the, what comic books they first showed in, but Storm's name is Ororo Monroe. It's probably pronounced completely differently, but that's just a crazy looking name, if you ask me. It looks Japanese, kind of like the word Oro, that the guy from Rurouni Kenshin would always say. He's certainly a master of magnets. Now he's dead. Magneto is defeated. X-Men succeeded to rescue the Professor and return to the Earth with the victory, but still the battle against the threats of evil has just begun. The struggle of the X-Men will continue, I believe it said. Although, honestly, I think this whole thing about note the game is not over is just kind of stupid, because all it really does after this, and it displays the X-Men logo as you see in the end, is it just repeats all over again. It doesn't, it's not like anything is new. It's not like when you play Super Mario again, all the Goombas have been replaced with those guys with the black shells on their back, but it just repeats. So I guess they're basically saying, hey, your quarter that you were using when you beat Magneto is still good for a little bit more play. But I would guess 9 out of 10 people who are done this game are just going to walk away. It's like, oh yeah, that was cool. I watched the credits. I'm done. But yeah, definitely try this X-Men game. It's really awesome. I'd recommend it on MAME or on your PlayStation 2 or Xbox 360. Definitely give it a shot, and I shall see you later in another video. Bye.